I grew up around livestock. I know how cows act when they're spooked, and I've seen them react to snakes, bad wiring, even the smell of blood from a mile off. But what happened at the old silo wasn't like any of that, not even close. It started small, like most things, just a shift in their patterns. The herd used to graze right up to the eastern edge of the pasture, no issues, even liked rubbing against the silo base during hot days. Steel's always a bit cooler in the shade. But then, out of nowhere, they started freezing up, locking their legs, blowing hard through their noses, just staring. Not all of them at once either. It was like a chain reaction. One would stop, then two. Then the whole herd, just clustered together, wide-eyed and dead still, like they were waiting for something to move first. I figured maybe there was a coyote nest nearby, maybe some kids screwing around in the shed again, or maybe a new smell from the runoff tanks behind the grain bins. But it wasn't any of that. They wouldn't go near the silo, not even within 30 feet, just stopped dead every time, no matter what. And the weird part is, they didn't run, didn't panic. They just stood there, like they were listening to something only they could hear. The silo hadn't been used in years. It was part of the north property we'd bought at auction last spring. Belonged to the Anders family before the foreclosure, and we'd mostly ignored it since the grain setup on our side was already more than enough. That silo, though, it always looked a little off. It didn't match the rest of the equipment, newer by maybe a decade, shinier, and built differently. Like it had been dropped there, not built up like the others, and it had this thick, reinforced base and a steel hatch on the front that looked military grade. We didn't have a key to that hatch, never needed one, never planned to use it, so we left it alone, until the cows started acting like something was alive in there. One morning, I noticed hoof prints circling the silo, dozens of them, deep and nervous, like the herd had done a full lap in the night, then scattered. No scratches on the tank, no mud on the door, but something about it felt watched. I told my brother Cody, and he just shrugged it off. Said animals get weird when the seasons shift. Said the metal probably reflected a shadow funny, that maybe the concrete was leaching heat. But when we walked the perimeter that evening, the sun already dropping, we heard something. Not movement, not footsteps, just breathing. Heavy, slow, like someone asleep inside. Cody tried to laugh it off, but I saw him grip the crowbar a little tighter. "We should open it," I said. "Not tonight." That night, I sat up with the window cracked, listening for anything strange, anything out of place. At 3:11 a.m., I heard the cows again, lowing in unison, a kind of choked rhythmic groan, not panic, not fear, just this slow, mournful sound I'd never heard from them before. It went on for 6 minutes, then silence. The next day, I brought bolt cutters. It took 3 snips to get through the rusted latch on the silo's front hatch. I had gloves on, but I could still feel the cold of the handle bite through the fabric. When I pulled the hatch open, the smell hit first. Not manure, not dead grain, not mold. This was different. Chemical, acidic, sharp and rotted all at once, like blood mixed with bleach and damp insulation. I covered my mouth, stepped inside with my flashlight, and instantly wished I hadn't. The bottom of the silo had been converted. The grain reservoir was long gone, scooped out and replaced with a space that looked like someone's idea of a room. 4 cinder block walls inside the tank, each painted this strange, sticky shade of brown-red, and in the middle, a metal-framed bed. No mattress, just chains on either side, bolted to the wall. One set still had the handcuffs hanging from them, open, dangling like someone had just slipped out of them. There was writing on the floor, not painted, scratched. Tens of thousands of tiny lines, spirals, runes, marks, layered on top of each other so deep the concrete looked like it had been carved away, one letter at a time. I stepped closer. The smell got stronger. And that's when I saw it. In the corner, behind the frame. Teeth. Just scattered there. 12 of them. Filed down flat. No roots. No blood. Just left. Like a warning. Cody didn't believe me when I told him. Not until he saw it for himself. But by then, something had already changed in the cows. They stopped eating. Stopped moving much, too. Just stood out by the tree line, staring at the silo from a distance, breathing shallow, flicking their ears like they were waiting for something to crawl out. And 3 days later, one of them was found dead. No wounds, no struggle, just collapsed, with its tongue missing. We buried the cow behind the east fence, same way we always did. Quick and quiet, no ceremony. But when I rolled her over to check her stomach and legs, there was something off. Something I still can't explain right. The tongue wasn't torn out, wasn't bitten off, wasn't cut. It was just missing. Clean gone. Smooth tissue where the root should have been, like it had never existed in the first place. Like the body had been built wrong. And the rest of the herd? They didn't even look. Just kept their backs turned to the silo, unmoving, like someone had drawn a line in the dirt and they knew not to cross it. Cody and I argued for days. He wanted to lock the hatch, pretend it was nothing, that maybe some sick freak had been living there years ago and moved on, that whatever we found was just old. I knew better. I'd seen what was behind that wall. Those scratches. Those teeth. They weren't old. They were fresh. And the smell, the one that hit me when I opened the hatch, it was stronger every morning. Worse when it rained. Like the water pulled whatever was buried deeper toward the surface. I checked the old property records that week. Had to drive an hour to the county archive, sit with a clerk who smelled like chewing tobacco and lemon oil, but he eventually found the files, even if he didn't want to hand them over. Turns out, the silo wasn't part of the original Anders farm. It was installed 10 years later. Not built, installed, exactly like I thought. A prefab unit bought from some military surplus auction upstate, delivered by flatbed in the middle of the night. Records signed by someone named M. Ferris. There was no M. Ferris in the Anders family. No one by that name in the state records either. The permit was provisional. The site survey was missing. The build inspection was never signed. It was like someone had snuck it in through the cracks of official paperwork, and no one had ever questioned it. The clerk leaned over and said, "You're not the first to ask about that plot, you know." "Who else?" "Guy about your age, maybe 5 years back. Quiet, thin, looked real tired." "Did he say why?" "Said he used to work for the Anders family. Stayed on the property. Farmhand? Something like that. Said they called him Hoss." "You get his name?" The clerk shook his head. "Didn't sign in. Left after 5 minutes. Took nothing." "And?" "He went missing a month later." I drove back different that day. Took the long way, avoided the road that runs alongside the silo, and when I finally pulled into the drive, the cows were gone. Not dead, just gone. No broken fences, no trampled brush, no scattered prints in the dirt. The herd had vanished. All 27. Like someone reached down and plucked them from the pasture without leaving a trace. Cody stood in the barn, smoking a cigarette with shaking hands. "You see anything?" I asked. He didn't answer, just nodded toward the silo. I turned. The hatch was open. We didn't open it. Hadn't touched it since that first time. But it was wide now, not cracked, not shifted, but fully open, door resting against the gravel like it had been peeled back and left that way. I walked toward it without thinking. The smell was unbearable, like meat left on a radiator, sweet and foul and old. And inside, the bed was gone. Chains gone. Floor scraped clean. But in the far wall, scratched into the steel this time, were words I'll never unsee. "Hoss fed us, he fed us good, he fed us and we kept him." And below that, smeared across the lower bolts, "Where's our tongues?" I backed out, heart hammering, vision blurry. And that's when I saw the track marks in the gravel. Not tires, not hooves. Drag marks, thin, long, like something crawled out of the hatch and slithered across the yard. That night, I boarded up the silo. Hammered in 2x4s, wrapped chains through the handle, nailed it shut from the outside. Cody didn't help. He just sat in the truck, eyes locked on the corn rows, flinching at every breeze. Around 2 a.m., the hammering started. From inside. Not fists, not tools. Something slower, rhythmic. like teeth against steel, gnawing. And above the sound, just faintly, I heard it. The low moan of a cow. Not in pain, not afraid. Just wrong. Like it was trying to speak. I didn't sleep that night, didn't even try. Just sat on the floor of the barn office with the light on. Shotgun across my lap and the window cracked open because for some reason I wanted to be able to hear it if whatever was in that silo came crawling back through the field. Cody sat on the porch with a bottle of wild turkey, didn't say a word, didn't come in once. We didn't talk about the noise, not yet. We both heard it. The chewing, the gnawing behind the walls. The way the steel creaked like something was using it for teeth practice. But we kept our mouths shut like maybe if we didn't name it, it couldn't crawl into us and take root. The next morning, the boards on the hatch were fine, still tight, still chained. But the lock was missing. Not cut, not broken, just gone. Chain dangling loose like someone had picked it perfectly, then placed it back with surgical care. I checked the trail behind the silo. More drag marks, same direction as before. But now there were smaller ones too, thinner, like hands. Not adult hands. I tried calling the sheriff. No answer. Tried the local ag agent too. Figured maybe he'd heard something about missing cattle, but got voicemail. It was like the phone lines didn't want this part of the county anymore, like they were backing away, cutting the signal inch by inch like a nervous animal pulling its tail from a trap. Cody finally spoke around sunset. We sat on the porch, same as always, him nursing a second bottle, and me staring out at the grass that no longer moved with the wind. Hoss wasn't just a farmhand, he said. What do you mean? I saw him once, before the sale. Driving up past the silo in a little red pickup. Looked sick, thin as a fence post. You talked to him? Didn't have to. He was crying. Not loud, just this shaking thing. Had a bucket in his lap, couldn't see what was inside, but the smell hit me like diesel and meat that's gone too long. You tell anyone? No, he said, because he looked right at me, and he mouthed something. What? Cody looked down, thumb running over the label on his bottle like it was Braille. He said, "It needs the soft parts." The next day, I went back to the records office, this time with a name, Hoss, possibly short for Horace, and I got a different clerk, younger, more helpful, didn't smell like tobacco, and after 20 minutes of digging, she found a single entry under Horace Findlay, laborer, no known address, hired as temp help by the Anders family in 2008. He was listed as missing by a cousin in 2011, never officially declared dead. But next to his name, in the remarks column, was a strange notation. Last seen near Site A12, unsealed. What's Site A12? I asked. The girl blinked. That's not on any of our residential records. Could it be the silo? Not unless the silo's sitting on top of a government contract. She looked uncomfortable now. Why? Because those site numbers, the A series, they're reserved for military surplus land. Stuff that gets redacted so hard we're not allowed to archive it here. Normally, anything A12 or lower is chemical testing grounds or disposal zones. So, if a silo showed up marked a 12, then someone lied to build it. I drove back different again, slower, like every crack in the road might open if I passed too fast. The cows were still gone. The corn was still. But the silo? The hatch was open. No sound, no smell, no blood. Just open like a mouth waiting for a second offering. Inside was empty. No frame, no chains, no scratches. But in the center of the floor, freshly drawn in what looked like mud or something worse, was a symbol. A circle, bisected by a jagged line, with 4 arrows pointing inward from the edges. I stepped into it before I realized I'd moved. And I heard it. Not in my ears. In the grain of the silo walls. A voice, whispering in loops. Bring the soft parts, bring the soft parts, bring the soft... I stumbled out, gasping, head spinning. The door slammed shut behind me. Not by wind, not by time. by choice. That night, I dreamed I was buried under the silo. Not dead. Just breathing shallow in wet dirt, a thin sheet of concrete over my chest. My arms still moving, but my mouth packed with something soft and rotten. When I woke up, there was soil under my nails and something ticking behind the walls of my bedroom. Not mice, not wind, something rhythmic, like teeth. The ticking behind the walls got louder that week, only at night, only when it rained. It came in slow bursts, then rapid flutters, like fingers drumming on a rib cage. And sometimes, if I pressed my ear to the floor, I could feel it vibrating, not from the house, but beneath it. Like something was chewing its way up, not out. Cody was worse. He'd stopped talking altogether, barely left his room, just sat in that recliner with the porch light off, staring at the silo like it owed him something. Like if he kept watching long enough, it might cough up an answer. I told him we needed to go in, not just peek through the hatch and run like idiots, not anymore. We needed to see what was underneath, what was waiting, because it wasn't done with us. And I could feel it in my skin, every time I walked across the yard, every time I slept too long and woke up tasting rust. He didn't argue, didn't nod, just grabbed the bolt cutters and said, "I think we're already in it." We went in after dark. 2 flashlights, 1 crowbar, 1 rope harnessed around my waist because if there really was a lower level, I didn't want to come back up in pieces. The hatch was already open. Of course it was. The inside was clean again. Too clean. No symbols on the floor, no stains, no bones, like it was prepping itself, resetting. We walked the perimeter first, checking for signs of a hatch or a panel, and that's when Cody's light hit something strange. A seam in the floor. Faint, almost invisible, but too perfect to be random. A trapdoor. We cleared the dirt around the edges and found a handle, recessed and rusted. No markings, but heavy. And when we pried it open, the stink hit us like a physical wall. Meat, ammonia, old sweat, and something electrical, like burnt wire and hair. There was a ladder, welded into the concrete shaft, going down. Too far. The flashlight barely hit the bottom. Cody stayed up top, braced the rope, kept watch. I went down. Every rung creaked under my boots, but held. The lower chamber was colder, built in a circle like the top, but narrower, lined with metal panels, some of them pulsing with this faint blue glow that didn't seem to come from any power source, just bleeding out of the walls. At the center of the floor was a shallow pit, maybe 6 feet wide, filled with what looked like wet burlap and hunks of meat. I thought it was cattle at first. Then I saw the tattoo. Human. Faded green ink. Barbed wire pattern. Right shoulder blade. And beside it, a plastic name tag. Farmhand. Hoss. I fell back. Hit the wall. My light skipped and caught something else. Movement. Just above. In the rafters. Something sliding. Not crawling. Not walking. Sliding. And whispering. No words. Just this clicking, wet and hollow, like chewing with the jaw unhinged. I backed toward the ladder, heart hammering. Then I saw it. At the far side of the room. A shape, hunched and wide, like a person turned inside out, dragging something long and soft behind it. It paused. Raised its head. Didn't have a face. Just a vertical slit where the mouth should be. Closed tight with thread. Stitched. Just like the girl. I climbed out fast, yelling for Cody, slipping on the rungs. He pulled me the last few feet and slammed the trapdoor shut, dropped a block over it. We didn't speak. Didn't have to. We both knew what we saw. What was fed. The next morning, Cody was gone. His room still warm, boots still by the door, but no sign of struggle. No note. Just one thing. The rope we'd used to lower me? It was neatly coiled on the kitchen table. And next to it, a tooth. Filed flat. I've been sleeping in the truck since. Won't go back in the house. Won't go near the silo. But every night, I see a shape at the top of the ladder. Not climbing, just waiting. Like it knows I'm next. The rope's still on my table. The tooth too. Just sitting there like a thank you gift from a thing that doesn't know how to say it out loud. It's been 5 days since Cody vanished. 5 days since I went down into that pit and saw what we were never meant to see. And every night since, The hatch on the silo opens. Not with force, not with sound, but with expectation. Like a dog bowl sliding out for dinner. It wants another. And I'm the only one left. I tried driving out of town. Didn't even make it to the highway. Every road out rerouted somehow. Signs I've never seen. Curves that weren't there before. Just miles of rerouted fences and unfamiliar trees that all led me in a loop right back to the farmhouse. The field doesn't move anymore. Not the wind, not the insects, not the birds. It's like the world is holding its breath, waiting for me to finish. Last night, I finally got a text from Cody's number. No message. Just a photo. Blurry. Lit by what looked like a flashlight pointed straight down. A pit. Wet burlap. And beneath it, my boots. Still on my feet. Still standing in the circle. Only I don't remember taking the photo. I don't remember it at all. I'm writing this now from the kitchen floor. Shotgun loaded, truck packed. But I don't think I'm leaving. Not really. There's something in the way now, not outside. Not a wall or a fence, just in my head. Like the silence from the silo has unspooled across my thoughts, threading through everything. I keep dreaming about the pit, not falling in, waking up inside it, wrapped in burlap, mouth sewn shut, unable to scream but still breathing, always still breathing. There's a knock at the front door now, no footsteps, no vehicle, just one knock every 12 seconds, like a metronome from underground. I know what it is. Not a man, not a ghost. Just hunger that grew teeth. Teeth that remember the soft parts. Teeth that chewed Hoss into whispers, that licked Cody out of his boots. Teeth that are now mine to feed. I walked out just after 2 a.m. Didn't take the gun. Didn't take the keys. Just the rope. And the crowbar. The hatch was already open. The trapdoor already waiting. I lowered myself down, flashlight between my teeth. The pit was still there. So was the meat. But now there were photos on the wall. Hundreds. Stapled, pinned, nailed. All taken from high above. All from the silo's eye. Each one showed someone sleeping, and every one of them had their mouths blurred out. Like the image couldn't hold them. Except the last one. Pinned dead center. Me. Eyes wide. Awake. Looking straight at the lens. And below it, scratched into the panel with something jagged. He sees from behind now. The thing in the pit stood slowly. Taller than before. Unfolding. Limb by limb. No face. No sound. Just threads stretching across its chest like a mouth that never learned how to close. It reached for me. Not to kill. Not to drag. To replace. I dropped the crowbar and ran. Climbed that ladder like the air was fire. Didn't stop until the hatch slammed shut behind me. And the sound it made, it thanked me. The silo shook once, then went still, like it had taken a bite and was chewing. This morning I woke up to find dirt under my fingernails again. The boots I swore I left by the door, covered in wet straw. The truck won't start, the phone won't charge. And out in the pasture, the cows are back. But they don't blink. They don't eat. They just stand there, frozen. All 27 of them, arranged in a perfect circle facing the silo, mouths open, tongues missing, waiting for it to call again. And me? I think I'm still breathing, but I don't think I'm still alive. Not the way I was.